embodied the label of road warriors. The Avs have lost only 4 times in regulation away from Denver and are on the verge of eclipsing the number of road wins put up by past NHL powerhouses like the 1980 Flyers, the 52 Red Wings, and the Montreal Canadiens dynasty of the 1970s. Can they continue this march towards one of sports' most difficult records? They look to get one step closer as they face off against their rivals from Minnesota next. And welcome to the XL Energy Center here in St. Paul. The number 2 team in the West, the Colorado Avalanche, take on a Minnesota team right now that is 7 points out of a playoff spot. They have some work to do. Well, how about the Colorado Avalanche? If you win on the road at the rate that this year's Avalanche team is, guess what? You have a pretty good chance of winning the Cup. Look at what some of these dynasties did when they lost so few games on the road, going on to win a Stanley Cup. And what do you get when you win a Cup? Of course, you get a nice-looking ring, just like this one that Brian Engblom won with the Montreal Canadiens in 1978. Hi, everybody. Dave Strader along with Brian Engblom. And you look at that list of great teams, and obviously they had one thing in common, Brian, a lot of talented players. But if you had to pick one element that makes a successful road team, what would it be?
Well, I think it's execution. When you're on the road, it's all about hockey. You don't have distractions like you do at home, and the good teams really know how to execute night after night.
Well, it's an old cliche in every sport. You win championships with defense. Now, a couple of key guys, Blake and Foote, are out for the Avalanche, but they have acquired a couple of key guys.
Yeah, and they've really changed the feel of the back end of the Colorado Avalanche defense. I think it's going to make a big difference to play against them. Bob Buchner was acquired a couple of days ago. He's a mean, nasty guy. He's got 1,400 career penalty minutes. He's going to help out Adam Foote an awful lot, matching up against top guys on the other teams. And Kurt Sauer was acquired yesterday from Anaheim. He does a terrific job. He'll be a number 6 guy. Last year in his rookie season, he went all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals with Anaheim.
The Minnesota Wild win an emotional game here against a very good Vancouver team and scored 6 goals, but leave it to their head coach, Jacques Lemaire, to talk about his defense.
It's always about defense here. It's always about the goaltending and how well they do defensively and how well they shut down the other team. There's a couple of guys on the back end to really make a big difference for Minnesota. Mitchell and Kuba are the real leaders. Now, Willie Mitchell made a big name for himself last year in the playoffs. He did great things, especially against Vancouver. He had the facial fracture and everything. And Philip Kuba has got more points and more goals than any other defenseman in Minnesota history. He's got a big booming shot from the point, and he moves the puck really well. Good combo.
Colorado, a formidable team on the road, one of the top teams in the NHL. No worries for the Wild the way they've gone this week. They picked up a point against the defending Stanley Cup champions in New Jersey and then put 6 goals on Vancouver. They'll try to keep it going against the Avalanche next.
Alongside Cab Calloway, I'm John Butchergoss, Barry with the Minnie the Moocher suit on tonight. And the Wild and the Avalanche played a passionate playoff series last year.
Yes, they did.
2 guys Colorado leans to is Adam Foote and Rob Blake.
Well, the team drastically changed out those 2 guys in the lineup. They're both physical monsters back there, finishing all their checks, hitting everybody that moves, and they can all move the puck. And Foote would play against Gaborik tonight every shift he was on the ice. So much different team without those 2 guys in the lineup.
And the Avalanche have lost back-to-back 5-1 games, their last 2 contests. What does Tony Granato tell the team before they hit the ice?
Well, Pierre Lacroix already made a statement by going out and getting Bugner and Sauer. So this team is drastically different, just as Brian Engblom said. But he told them, let's get back to normal and score some goals.
All right, the Blackhawks and the Blues this afternoon. The Western Conference is really tight. We'll talk about on NHL tonight after the game. That's Stefan Roby to win the game in overtime.
Well, the Blues get a point, which is the most important thing, and that keeps them in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, the Blues are now 8th in the West. They bump L.A. out for the time being. Marty Havlat had a hat trick today, Barry.
Pittsburgh put up a good fight. They were down 2-0 early, but this ain't right. A team being this much more talented than the team they're playing against. Big win for Ottawa.
Ottawa has scored the most goals in the NHL this year, and they have the most points, 81 in all. Joe Sakic feasts on Dwayne Rollison and the Minnesota Wild. They'll look to Joe tonight to provide the offense next.
And welcome back here to St. Paul, Minnesota. They call Minnesota the state of hockey. It was the home of the 2004 NHL All-Star Game, and what a great job this franchise did in hosting the event. Dave Strader back along with Brian Engblom. And, of course, the state of hockey, always a lot of energy in this building. And speaking of the All-Stars, Dwayne Rollison was there, and he has really taken over the #1 spot.
His last 2 years have been absolutely phenomenal. And even though a bit of a tough start to start the season, man, he rebounded, has phenomenal numbers, 2nd best save percentage in the entire league.
Avalanche, John and Barry were talking, coming off consecutive 5-1 losses and a shutout prior to that. Key injuries for the Avalanche. Blake and Foote, High Note, Larson, Nico Leashin. Well, they've added a couple of new guys, of course, with Kurt Sauer and Bob Buchner making their Colorado debuts tonight. Brian, they fully expect to get Rob Blake, who's got a hairline fracture in his leg, and Adam Foote back into the lineup, so they will have quite a bit of depth for the playoff run.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they got 6 guys who are going to be tough to play against. Kurt Sauer, as I said in the open, he's only got 2 years in the league. But how about in your rookie year going all the way to Game 7 in Stanley Cup Finals? Even though they lost, that experience is invaluable. And Bob Buchner is going to be a real mean, nasty guy to play against. And Colorado's going to have a really different feel. But to look at the record for the Colorado Avalanche since Rob Blake has gone down. Now, it's not as if this Colorado team is simply not good enough to play without Rob Blake. It's just the way it's happening. They're in a bit of a funk right now. There's Bob Buchner. He'll put you in a bit of a funk, too, if you got to get down the corner or coming through the middle of the ice. He's a nasty guy to play against, and that's what you want on your team, especially getting ready for the play.
And Pierre Lacroix able to get him without giving up somebody off the roster, as this shot from the line by Lyles is deflected up onto the netting and out of play.
And who can forget the feeling that these two teams have for each other?
Oh, that's right. Absolutely.
After Minnesota beat this Colorado Avalanche team, which was a juggernaut even last year, Minnesota beats them in the first round of the playoffs. That wasn't any fun, and Bob Buchner is ready to prevent that from happening this year to Minnesota or anybody else.
Michael Lyles, his shot sails in just wide. Rolison tips it to the corner. Another all-star that represented the Wild here a couple of weeks back. Philippe Kuba. And Laxton, look out, marked the edge on his skate as he dumped the puck deep into the Colorado zone. Now Kuba over on the far side tried to hold it in, but it deflects up into the Avalanche bench and out of play.
Well, with this star-studded lineup for the Colorado Avalanche, you don't talk much about the goaltender this year because it's not Patrick Waugh, but you should be talking about him. Look at those numbers. 25 wins is, I think, 4th in the National Hockey League. There are only 3 other guys with more wins than him. David Abisher has probably been their most consistent player all year long. He has been outstanding in net. There are no questions as far as the Avalanche management go. From heading into the playoffs, are they going to trade for #1 goaltender? Absolutely no.
Well, only Brodeur, you're right, Vaucoun and Turco with more wins than David Abisher. We have an icing call here against the Minnesota Wild.
Patrick Waugh has all the franchise records. And David Abisher has a chance to join in there. How high? Who knows?
Yeah.
40 wins is the most that Patrick ever had. David Abisher is on track to do that. He's definitely got a shot at it, and he's definitely got the team to do it.
And he'll play enough to certainly get up into the 30s. I mean, there's a lot of talk before the trade deadline that Pierre Lacroix might add a goaltender, a veteran guy to back up Abisher, just in the event that something happens to Abisher. Would they be content having Philippe Sauvé as their #1 guy? Here is Souza now into the Avalanche zone. Drops it back for Weimer. Weimer takes a look, puts it between the circles for Brunette with a backhand attempt. But Jim Cummins was right there on top of him. And back come the Avalanche. Again, as we were mentioning all of those key scratches, don't want to overlook Peter Forsberg, whose name was listed there earlier. Yeah, he's a guy I think you have to mention.
I think he's probably the best player probably in the world right now. A lot of people figure he's the best player in the National Hockey League. Unfortunately, he's going on, 30 games that he's missed this year, and tonight is one of them. Still got that groin problem, groin abdominal thing.
Now Henry back to play the puck for the Wild. Hands it off Susan. Center ice here for Pascal Dupuis. Dupuis slaps it into the Avalanche zone. Now he backhands it toward the front of the Colorado goal. Picked up by Gabrick on the far side. He's starting to get hot at the right time. But this centering pass misses everybody for the Wild and rolls all the way down the ice.
And it seems like everything's backwards. We come in here to Minnesota and we find out Minnesota's scoring goals like crazy and Colorado can't score. What's wrong with this picture?
Makes no sense. Wild dump it back into the Colorado zone. Morris checked on the play. Richard Park, he's wearing the C as the captain. And that's an honor, Brian, as you know, to be named the captain. And the way they do it here in Minnesota, you're named captain for the month. But Richard Park was a healthy scratch in the last game.
Now, that's Jacques Lemaire for you.
But after a 6-2 win, he's back in the lineup. So figure that out. Pass to the front of the net, didn't get through. They'll try to get tipped in front. Gabrick again, and a save by Abisher. Marian Gabrick right on the doorstep. And he knows Brian, that he had a great chance.
That's right, and that's the guy they want to have the scoring chances for Minnesota. Absolutely, their best and most talented player all alone. I mean, this is a complete screw-up for Colorado. Southwest Airlines goal cam will show you that David Abisher does a pretty darn good job. Makes the first save, a little bit of a rebound, but there wasn't any room on that short side. He knew Gabrick had to go there. Gabrick tried to get it up. He's looking at a replay, too, to see if he might have had another hold that he missed, but there wasn't any room there. Good job by Abisher.
Face-off win by the Wild. They're not one of the better face-off teams, but it leads to an opportunity here. Now the puck covered again by David Abisher. Well, Tony Granato trying to figure out what's going on with the Colorado Avalanche. And as he was mentioning this morning, Brian, he's not really worried, but you go into St. Louis, a little over a week ago, you win 4-0. You go into Detroit against your arch rivals, an ABC game, nationally televised, you win that one, and then you come out and lose 3 straight and get outscored 11-2.
I know, it's hard to figure. It's just one of those funks that every team goes into. You see New Jersey go through it, Vancouver go through it, Detroit go through it. Everybody takes their turn. It's only a couple of games. I wouldn't worry too much about Colorado yet.
Here was Laxton, who had a penalty shot goal in the last game. Drops it back. This shot goal was blocked before it got to Abisher. A steal, and it's picked up by Walls. He sends it back between the circles. A drive is blocked. Ooh, that start. That had to sting the youngster Mikhail Kuleshov, number 43, playing in just his second NHL game.
Actually, he should have been out there, so I think he was sort of covering up for himself there. That was a big block because Minnesota had good penetration. That shot had a lot on it. And Colorado is already showing signs of being a little disoriented inside their end. They have 2 new defensemen we've already pointed out, so communication and talk is going to be big for Colorado in this game.
Alex Henry's shot was blocked. Now he has to back up with a couple of dangerous forwards, Correa and Solani putting pressure on him. And this is a 2-line pass. And so the whistle blows.
Let's take a look at the last sequence there when Colorado was inside the zone, when Kuleshov has to go down and block the shot. You have 4 Colorado guys over on the same side. Kuleshov, number 43, went down and blocked that shot. Well, he's a forward. I mean, he was back there right in front of his own net. So Colorado, was sort of running around a little bit and trying to get their bearings and get some communication going with each other, but it's turning into scoring chances for Minnesota early.
We saw some of the information there on Kuleshov, an NHL rookie, but his 3rd-year pro. He's been playing down in the American League. Here's Gabrick, and his worst shot deflected off the stick of the Colorado player up over the glass and out of play. And Marian Gaborik again had that contract holdout. Brian, both he and Dupuis, and Gabrick's finally starting to get it together. Hopefully, as you said earlier tonight on ESPN News, it's not too late.
Yeah, he's got 5 points in his last 2 games, and he's really starting to feel it. And when your star player starts to feel it, meaning he's handling the puck, he's seeing the openings, he's got a feel for the game, he's starting to dominate games, that inspires the whole team.
Here comes Milan Hajduk, trying to put it to the front of the net, never got there. Hajduk playing on a line here with Riku Hall and Alex Tanguay. Tanguay, who leads the National Hockey League in assists, back to the line, but the Avalanche have to back up center ice and regroup. No score here early in the first period. Colorado still looking for their first shot on goal. Even with guys like Forsberg and some of their outstanding defensemen, Blake and Foote out of the lineup, this still is a roster, Brian, that figures to be able to generate offense.
You still got 5 guys out there that would be first liners on any team in the National Hockey League, and you got Alex Tanguay, who is still 4th overall in total points in the NHL. So it's not exactly time to have a tag day for these guys. I mean, they're going to generate scoring chances, but they do look a little bit out of sync, and this Minnesota team certainly knows how to jam things up. They're in a situation where they're looking to get into the playoffs, obviously, and they're 7 points out right now. And a big difference for them was the way they started the season last year and this. Look at last year, 7-1-2 and 16 points. That's the first 10 games. And this year they got off to a slow start. Dave, you already pointed out that Gaborik was a big difference in that. He wasn't around for that.
Gaborik and Dupuis. Dupuis actually signed a few games before Gaborik did, but Brian, it's a great example of why coaches talk about the points in October being every bit as important as the points at this time of year, especially for teams like Minnesota.
Absolutely, and then it goes back to Dupuis and Gaborik, their 2 best offensive players, and it takes them a while to get into shape. And we're talking about Gaborik now into February, just starting to really dominate games.
Here comes Bouchard, hands it off for Laxton, speed into the Colorado zone, snaps a shot deflected off the glass. Avalanche, Teemu Selanne gets their first career from center ice, hammers it in wide to Rolison.
Minnesota's a team that doesn't normally challenge a lot one-on-one, but when you got two nervous defensemen with new teams, Bruckner and Sauer, I expect that you'll see those two guys get challenged one-on-one more in this game than they might otherwise.
Up the boards, Tanguay gets it, tries to clear, held in by Susan. Sends it back around behind Abisher. Wild able to keep it in. That was Eric Schwinnard, number 21, but now the Avalanche back the other way. And the pass here for Hayduk. Hayduk to the forehand. He scores! Milan Hayduk! Very few guys can make this move, and he makes it look easy.
Milan Hayduk has got just phenomenal hands. There's no other way to express it. He can score from anywhere and in any situation. Number 23, White, is the guy to keep track of. Now, picking his way up the ice, he's got great speed. He's one of the best giver and goers in the league. But watch this move to the outside. He froze the defenseman just for a second. I think that was Zuzan. Had Zuzan looking into the middle, pulled it to the outside, but then it's his finish. I mean, there are just so few players who can pick that small a corner on an angle, going at top speed, and make it 1-0, but Hayduk did.
27th of the year and a penalty coming, and it's going to go against the Avalanche. So Milan Hayduk, a little bit of a dry spell for him, but this is why he's so dangerous. He can still turn it on in a hurry. Minnesota on the power play when we come back.
Bob Boughner, the newest Colorado Avalanche, but he's not in a new place. He's in the penalty box right now. And he ended up for 2 minutes for tripping.
Scoring for Colorado is 27th goal of the season, number 23,
Clark, the defenseman, gets the only assist on the goal by Hayduk. Here comes Minnesota. They've been hot on the power play of late. The team that normally struggles to score, but they've had it going. And now a puck comes free and a lead pass for Korea. Trying to get loose. Good job, though, by Gabrick, a forward back there.
And you know what? It's a good thing it was Marian Gabrick, because not many guys could catch Korea.
Here is Gabrick. Waits. Now hands it off. Bouchard drops it back to the line. Here's Kuba with it. Sends it back across on the far side. Now Kuba sends it side of the net. Shot chipped just wide. Amateur, I think, got a piece of that. Now it comes back on the near boards again. Kuba sets it up for Weimer. Weimer has it roll off his stick. Cleared up the board, but held in Kuba. One time around the way from Gabrick. Saved by Abisher. And no rebound.
Well, short-handed Paul Korea. This team is just so dangerous in any situation. Short-handed Paul Korea with a damn slaughter, and Sakic knows it. But Marian Gabrick, number 10, red. I mean, that's an excellent job of back-checking. I mean, he saw it was Korea, and I'm sure the hair on the back of his neck was standing up, but he didn't stop there. He came right back with that speed, walked it right down the middle. He got pushed to the side, but good work there by Marian Gabrick.
Face-off win cleanly by the Avalanche. How about this, Brian? That goal by Milan Hayduk was the first goal by a Colorado forward since the empty netter scored by Peter Forsberg in that win at Detroit. So they went 3+ games without a goal from any of their forwards.
With that lineup, you go, oh my goodness.
Right.
It happens to everyone. It'll make the rest of the league feel good.
Wild on the power play, down 1-0. Milan Hayduk's goal, his 27th. All the scoring so far. Half a minute remaining in this Wild power play. Dupuis, it comes out front here. Susan with it, drives the shot, deflected wide. Alexander Day nearly had it go through him. Held in at the line, sent back in deep. Could be a 2-on-1 down low. Abisher, good stop there on Eric Schwinnard. Well, once again, we gave you a couple of games to pick from, and on our NHL Ice Picks, you selected this one. So we will bring you the Red Wings and the Oilers tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. The NHL on ESPN2 Ice Picks, and NHL Tonight will follow here on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Eric Schwinnard had a really good chance there. It should have been a 2-on-1 down low, Dave. You were already ready to call it.
Yeah.
Schwinnard panicked a little bit there. He had a lot more time to make a play there or execute the 2-on-1 right in front of Abisher, but he just shot it right into him. You're not going to score on really any goalie in the NHL right now like that. They go down in the butterfly. He was in too tight. There's nothing to shoot at.
Here come the Wild. Avalanche back at full strength. Minnesota managed 3 shots on that power play. As we approach the halfway mark of this first period, Avalanche leading the Wild 1-0. Rolison out of the net, moves it along quickly on the far side. Andrew Burnett, Jason Weimer, and now Bouchard. Bouchard accelerates. Oh, forgot something. Went to make the move, and the puck stayed there.
But it's interesting, though, that Minnesota definitely does look like the team that's more confident offensively. They are taking the play to Colorado. They are the ones that have been scoring goals more the last few games, although Colorado is ahead 1-0 in this game thanks to Milan Hajduk being so brilliant. But they haven't had hardly any scoring chances, Colorado.
Avalanche broke it up just inside the line as Kuleshov tried to make a play, but here comes that line again coming. Chops it into the Wild zone. Moore trying to pick it up. And the Wild come up with it. And on the outlet, out of the reach of Laxinen. Moore slides it across now for Skrastic. Carlos Skrastic ahead now for Connor Walchuk. Connor Walchuk going wide. Takes it behind the Minnesota net. Double teamed by a couple of Wild players. Now Sakic over to help out. He took the puck away. Drops it back along the end boards. Connor Walchuk is there. Willie Mitchell stepped up on him. Mitchell number 2 for the Wild. Plays it around the boards. Dave could not get it out of there. Connor Walchuk drops it back here. Sakic with it. Sakic into the faceoff circle. A shot saved by Rolison. And he hangs on. 1-0 on a goal by Milan Hajduk. The Avalanche with the... You know, the fans here in St. Paul are serious. I guess you call that serious about their hockey.
You bet.
Dress up in the team colors. Having a little party in the stands. Right now, the home team is down 1-0. Colorado, a couple of points behind Detroit for the top spot in the West. And Minnesota, as we mentioned at the very top of the show right now, they are 7 points out of a playoff spot. The guys were mentioning earlier on in the studio, St. Louis with that overtime loss picked up an important point as we get an icing call here. And take a look at St. Louis updated. Now they have more wins than LA. That's why they're in the 8th spot. But look at LA with 67. Then it drops down to Edmonton and Minnesota, Brian. Minnesota's got some work to do.
Yeah, they sure do. That 7 points is, you know what, being 9 points behind where they were at this time last year. Obviously, they'd be in the playoff
Yeah,
run.
that's
And
right.
they were just starting to get comfortable at this point. If you remember, they started making their run late, and they started looking like a team like, you don't want to play them in the playoffs. And man, how true did that turn out to be?
And of course, with all the teams, Brian, being so close, this is where all the ties that LA and Minnesota have could come back to haunt them, because the first tiebreaker, if you're even in points, obviously, is wins. Well, I think if you're Minnesota, I mean, you take points obviously any way you can get them, but boy, you want to try to get a little bit of a streak going here. They're coming off the 6-2 win over Vancouver.
I tell you what, I really like the way they're playing here in this first period against a very tough Colorado team. They're taking it to them.
Mitchell shot deflects up off the glass.
Sorry, David, it's not a Minnesota team that's sitting back, playing a counter game and playing a trap game. I mean, they're coming out and they're pushing and they're challenging offensively, and they have the puck most of the time.
D. Moore dumps it into the Minnesota zone. Bombardier has it. And the Wild will look to come out as we approach 8 minutes left here in this first period. Minnesota winning here Thursday night 6-2. That came on the heels of a 4-4 tie against the defending Stanley Cup champions in New Jersey. This is a Minnesota team that's confident right now. As Bugner drives it back into the Minnesota zone. Alex Henry and his pocket took there a bit. McCormick now for the Avalanche, hands it off for Cummins. And here's a shot, hits the side of the net. Cummins has it again, looks to the front of the net. It deflects out near the line. Good job by Bugner to hold it in. His shot deflecting through traffic, but not all the way through. And it's back up to center ice. Brian, you mentioned 2 defensemen playing on a new team. What's the biggest adjustment as a defenseman coming to a new team?
Well, you have to have communication. You have to have a feel for your partner, and these guys don't have a feel for anybody. Everybody is new for them. We talk about wingers and centers and how do you create scoring chances. Well, you have to have goals, but if you don't have communication between 2 defensemen, you give up goals. It's deadly for you. So they have to really talk a lot until they can develop a feel for whoever their partner is going to be.
But in terms of systems and changes like that, is it a big adjustment right off the bat?
Yeah, it can be. But you know what? I think you just try and get comfortable with reading the rush and getting a feel for your partner. That's what I always went back to, is one guy has to be more dominant than the other. You know, in say 3-on-2 situations or certainly outnumbered attacks, you need to have that feel, because if you both do the same thing at the same time, it's real big trouble.
Wallace trying to make a rush there, was knocked off the puck. Now Bouchard has it again. Tries to send it in deep for Laxinen. Good job there by Skrastic. Hard outlet pass. Correa stood up there by Schultz in the neutral zone. Westfall's able to get control. And I suppose if you're Bob Bugner and you get in trouble and say you got to just snap it ahead. Not bad to have guys like Sakic and Correa, Solani catching those passes down.
That's right, and Colorado will do that. They'll use the glass and they'll use the boards to just dump shots up into the neutral ice area. But for the most part, their defense is pretty good about passing tape to tape, and forwards like to get spoiled in that way.
Now it comes to Alexander Day, plays it over on the right side. Mark Schwinard puts it in deep. Now we got Mark and Eric Schwinard, not related, we don't think, playing out there at the same time along with Day. It comes to Day. Yeah, that's right. And Hayduk, who has the only goal of the game, hands it off for Solani. Solani going wide, dumps it around the board. Brad Bombardier is there. Now Willie Mitchell picks it up. Mitchell missed 10 games earlier this year with a sprained knee.
Willie Mitchell's a big part of this Minnesota team.
Yeah,
he really made a name for himself last year in the playoffs. He battled, and he had that facial fracture. Nothing ever slowed him down. He never missed a game. He played against the top lines on everybody's team, whether they were playing Anaheim or Vancouver or Colorado. Willie Mitchell played a great playoff last year.
I'll tell you what's a great example of hockey not getting its due in North America. USA Today is doing a special. They did a thing on the 10 toughest athletes. There was only one hockey player there, was Scott Stevens, so you certainly have to respect his selection. But there are so many hockey players that play with injuries that no other athlete would play with.
Rob Blake played with a fracture for almost 2 weeks before he sat on the sideline.
You mentioned Willie Mitchell. I mean, to play this sport with a fractured jaw, I mean, one thing to say you have a shield, but you're going to get jarred every time you make contact.
Yeah, guys are punching him in the head. How does that feel? It's ugly out there. It's a jungle out there.
Wild put it back deep now into the Avalanche zone. Just over 4 minutes left in this first period. Not a lot of whistles here, which very often happens in a Minnesota game.
A lot of turnovers. Now, I think Colorado's tried to jam things up a little better. They allowed Minnesota to carry the puck a lot more, I think, than they wanted to for the first 10 minutes of this first period. So now they're doing a better job of chopping the game up for Minnesota.
Back the other way, now comes puck, accelerates, puts on the brakes. He was played well. Zoltak takes over for a while. Zoltak has been on a roll here for Minnesota, scoring goals, but has it taken away. And Sakic starts it back. He hands it off to Connor Walchuk. His shot is blocked, and the Wild look to start it back. Puck couldn't get control, so he circles and sends it ahead now for Gabrick. Bounces off of his stick. Avalanche dump it right back in.
I tell you, the Minnesota defense looked real good. I mean, they look sharp. They get support. They have one guy back at least all the time to help them out against the rush of the Colorado Avalanche. But the defensemen in Minnesota are playing real strong again, just like they did against Vancouver when they beat them 6-2 the other night.
Here is Hayduk with it. Makes a nifty little move. Gets it back. Hayduk. Look at him stick handle. Hands it off now for a quick shot by Hall that was stopped. Now Correa trying to get control. He can't, but keeps the play alive. And Hall is intercepted by Bouchard. And it's 3-on-3, though. The Avalanche get back.
That was a good job by John Michael Lyles to jump through to the net, too.
NHL.com for Score Stats Fantasy, the official score of the NHL. NHL.com. If it's hockey, it's here. Dave Strader, Brian Engblom here at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. Glad you're with us. The NHL on ESPN2.
And if the game keeps going like this, face-offs are going to be 4-2 by the end of the game.
That's right. Centering pass, quick shot, a save. What a stop there, Abisher on Mark Schwinard, right on the doorstep. And this play offside at the Minnesota line. David Abisher hasn't had a lot of work, but two of his best saves have been in tight, including this latest one here on Mark Schwinard to keep it at 1-0 Avalanche. Well, Brian, how about your first playoff series as a rookie coach, Tony Granato? You go up against Jacques Lemaire, who's won, 12 Stanley Cups as a player and also in management. I mean,
it's unbelievable. Generally, I think most people consider Jacques Lemaire the best coach in the National Hockey League right now. And we have a whistle for an offside here. But, yeah, it was tough for Tony Granato to go up against Jacques Lemaire because Jacques is a terrific teacher of the game. I mean, he knows the game inside out, and he gets the right guys out in right situations. And Tony was a rookie last year, and getting the right guys out at right times, that's experience. I mean, he knows it as a player, but to actually orchestrate it is a different thing. But having said that, Colorado, with their roster last year, there is no way, it doesn't matter how good the coach is, it's the guys on the ice that lost the series, and every one of those players will say that.
Oh, yeah, they all back Tony Granato, absolutely. Here is Gabrick, knocks it down with a glove. But the Avalanche able to get to it and clear under 2 minutes remaining here in this first period. Milan Hejduk's goal still the only goal.
One of the linesmen took that attempted shoot-in by Milan Hejduk, and it knocked him right off his feet. Looked like he's okay. It was Alex Tanguay was on his way into the zone, and here it is. Here's the shot. He jumped, but not quite high enough. He had good attention, and then he fell after that.
Well, the Dodge intermission is coming up with John and Barry. We're in the money at Nissan. Mike Weir, the Canadian left-hander. Hawks shock the Blues, and hats off to Havlin. Weir coming up.
Weir was also in the rain, too.
Oh, yeah.
Got rain falling down.
He also was in the lead big time, and I saw that it evaporated, unlike the water on the court. That was Don Henderson, the linesman, that took that tumble. Maybe we should include hockey officials as the toughest officials in any sport.
No doubt about that. Good thing he turned around and faced it, and he got it right on the shin pad. That was the good news.
In front of the Wild bench, it is played back inside the Colorado zone. Derek Morris back to pick it up now, number 53. Tries to dump it in. Mitchell, good hand-eye coordination, but he played it with a high stick. Well, once again, with our ice picks, you logged on to ESPN.com, and this is the game you want, so this is the game we're going to bring you. Brett Hull and the Detroit Red Wings, they're on a roll. They take on the Edmonton Oilers at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. NHL tonight follows the game. Detroit coming into action today with 80 points, trailing only Ottawa, who won earlier today with 81. Also Toronto and Philadelphia in the East with 80, but Detroit the top team right now in the Western Conference.
Everybody, all the players, all the management certainly, and the die-hard fans every day open up the papers. Where are we? Where do we stand? Doesn't matter whether you're in first place or 9th or 10th or 11th place. Do we have a shot?
Now we have another ice pick game March the 15th. Either the Rangers and the Devils, or it's going to be Buffalo, Toronto. There may even be a couple of others there to choose from as well. This shot save made by Abisher. You can hear that thump off the pad.
And Dupuis had an excellent chance on the rebound.
Right in front. Weaver is stopped by Abisher. And the puck is cleared. There is no panic in this kid, Abisher. I mean, a lot of things going on around him. He stays very, very calm.
Colorado has gone through this a lot during this regular season. David Abisher is getting a little too used to this. Colorado is not always real good right in front of their own net. And you see it in this sequence. Yeah, there's a big rebound there, but Dupuis had a really good chance and he missed it. But then, to make things worse, they throw it right back to the front of the net, and now there's more jamming going on, and Minnesota outnumbered Colorado down in front of Colorado's net. That's never supposed to happen.
Mark Schwannard wins the draw for Gabrick. Gabrick trying to make the move here on Kurt Sauer, number 34, the other new addition to this Colorado defense, along with Bugner. Sauer coming from the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Incidentally, we did verify that Mark and Eric Schwannard are first cousins, although they're not on the ice at the same time right now.
Well, here's a guy who's not a cousin to the Schwannards, but Teemu Sinilani has had an interesting
Brian.
Yeah, an interesting season. As you can get a good look at, he's gone back to the wood sticks over the last couple of games. He said, I just can't get the feel with the other ones, and you go back to what you know. I asked him about getting scoring chance. He said, yeah, I'm getting some. I'd always like more, but he said, I came here to win. I didn't come here to score 50 goals.
How about Teemu taking off the tape so we could see that wooden stick as you were making that point there, Brian? Energetic and very quick first period here at the XL Energy Center. 1 goal scored by Milan Hejduk. Avalanche with a 1-0 lead. Dodge intermission report coming up next. How about the youngsters here enjoying the ice surface at XL Energy Center? What a thrill for these young kids, all wearing USA jerseys. And, of course, this is a significant anniversary in the history of USA hockey, which we will talk about a little bit later on. Let's take you back to the first period.
Well, David, a couple of chances in tight where he really had to shut things down because there was a little bit of sloppy coverage there for the Avalanche at times, and a lot of shots were generated from the outside. That was a power play situation, and Milan Hejduk with the only goal in the first period. Typical Milan Hejduk.
Unbelievable.
Incredible hands. Yep. No real scoring chance. Just turned it into another goal.
Dave Strader, Brian Engblom. Back here in St. Paul, Minnesota, David Abisher just, again, looks so calm and cool under pressure.
He really is. I mean, Abisher, Rolison is really good at that too, but David Abisher has really, really impressed me in that department. Playing on a good team obviously helps, but hey, this is his first year as a #1 guy, and Abisher has been cool and calm since day one.
9 shots in the first period for Minnesota, just 5 for Colorado, but that's been about their pace of late. They had 15 in a home loss against Edmonton, 16 in that 5-1 loss in Dallas the other night. Any wonder their offense is struggling a little bit as this puck rolls in toward Abisher. He just calmly clears it right back through center ice and into the Wild zone. Now it comes to Gaborik. Gaborik hands it off. Here is Park cutting to the middle of the zone. Somebody joining the rush there. It was Gaborik that circled back in, but Skrastich was there defensively.
Yeah, Skrastich had moved up on the play. He was actually caught outside his own blue line. He really had to scramble to get back. He made a good defensive play just in the nick of time, but that's where he was supposed to be in the first place.
Now Kuba back behind his own net. All the way to center ice. Pierre-Marc Bouchard. Laxonen hands it off for Wall. Backhand shot. Easy stop there for Abisher.
And Bob Boughner finished his check there, and he was a little bit nasty in behind the net. That's what he does best. Interesting pairing, which certainly isn't surprising. Got Bob Boughner playing with John Michael Lyles. Lyles is a little bit smaller, doesn't play as physical a game, but is really good with the puck and wheels the puck out of the zone. So it's a good tandem to have together.
Kuleshov for Colorado clears it back into the Minnesota zone. Schultz will chase it down. Taken by Alexander. He has the puck stripped away. Kuleshov get in there quickly. But it's recovered by Weimer for Minnesota. He'll backhand it out to center ice. Now Kuleshov, Connor Walchuk, and Sakic upended. Look out, he slid into the boards. He's okay.
It's getting a little nastier here. It's certainly very physical in the early stages here in the second period.
Kurt Sauer back, number 34. First game in a Colorado jersey. Kuleshov dumps it deep into the Minnesota zone. Rolison clears it up the middle. That went off the skate of Dupuis, but he recovers. Pascal Dupuis starts it back now. Dusan, the defenseman, has moved up. This puck is dumped in wide of Abisher. And an icing call. Well, I haven't called the name Peter Worrell much tonight, and looking at the stat sheet at the end of the first period, only played 2 shifts. He might be coming out for his 3rd shift, played a minute in the first period. Now, it might be different if Matt Johnson were in the lineup. Here's why he is not, Brian.
Yeah, Matt Johnson, last game against Vancouver, he and Cook got into it a couple of times, and they took penalties, and then when it came out of the penalty box, this is what went on. Johnson went right and tomahawked him there. He got 5 games for that. Then Matt Cook came back and speared him. There was no penalty called on the play, but when they reviewed it from the league, Cook also got a 2-game suspension. So it got real nasty against Vancouver.
We're at the XL Energy Center here in St. Paul, Minnesota, the state of hockey. Dave Strader, Brian Engblom, and the rest of our NHL on ESPN2 crew. John Butchergrass, Barry Melrose back in the studio. And as you may have heard, after the game NHL tonight, Referral will join those guys with a discussion of some of the trades that have happened, other rumored trades, and I know you had a brief conversation with Pierre Lacroix.
Yeah, I was talking to Pierre Lacroix, general manager of the Colorado Avalanche. He said something interesting. He said, I think things are certainly more defined in the East than they are in our conference here in the West. So he said, looking at the trading deadline coming up, he said, I think if they're going to be fire sales, you see more fire sales from teams in the East than you will in the West.
Here is Paul Kariya with it. Tried to drop it back for Solani. But that was broken up by the Wild, and the puck driven back into the Avalanche zone. Third out of there, Bombardier dumped it back in, and intercepted on the move by Kariya. Sends it on the right side, Solani, and he banned on the shot. Comes back to Kariya in the corner, right to the goal mouth, and Rolison pushes it ahead. Picked up by Wes Wall.
Sorry, Dave. Teemu Solani just normally doesn't miss on chances like that. That was a terrific opportunity created by Kariya, blazing through the middle and attracting a lot of attention. He dished it out to the outside. Solani had time and room, and he just plain misfired. So I talked to Solani earlier, and he said, I'm getting scoring chances, and he said, so I'm not worried about that. But you can tell he's certainly not very sharp offensively, not the way we've been used to seeing him since his very first year in the league.
Here's the shot saved by Abisher as the Wild moved up on the rush. Schultz hands it off now for Joltok. Joltok now for Gaborik. Gaborik trying to get loose from Derek Morris. Crowd wants a penalty here. I think they're going to get one. Gaborik kept his feet moving. That is probably the key.
Minnesota actually had a pretty good scoring chance there from Joltok, but they'll go on the power play here. Oh, it's Joe Sakic. Joe Sakic doesn't take a whole lot of penalties in the course of any season. Yeah, this is, well, actually, it was behind the play, I think. That's not the Sakic one. But here's the Solani chance. Correa dishing it off to the side. And Solani normally would just handle that, stride into the puck, and get a shot on net. But he just sort of mishandled it a bit and never got the shot away. Unusual for him.
Second power play of the game. Both of them belong to Minnesota. Shot and a save by Abisher. Loose puck. And it pops free. And here comes Tanguay now. He's got Connor Walchuk with him. And an excellent read by Kuba with the poke check.
And again, on the back check, that was Marian Gaborik. I mean, is he ever wheeling tonight? Both ends of the ice. That's the second real good back check by Marian Gaborik. That had a potential for a 2-on-1 for Colorado. The number 10 Red came back and took care of that.
His puck is cleared all the way back down, and Rolison will play it. So Derek Morris did a good job of tying up Gabbard, but I think right behind that play is where Sakic took the obstruction hook, and that's why he's in the box. And Minnesota enjoying their second power play. They're not enjoying it so far. Sakic moves up for the short-handed Avalanche and dumps it back behind the Minnesota goal. Now it comes to Joel Tuck, and we've gone about halfway through this Minnesota power play. Eric Schwinnard into the zone. Dumps it along the boards behind Abisher. Now out to the point, Joel Tuck sends it back in deep. Derek Morris gets there and hammers it around the glass and down into the Wild zone.
Well, I think Colorado has succeeded since the first 10 minutes of the game in stemming the flow of Minnesota handling the puck and getting deep penetration, rush after rush. Colorado not playing like themselves. We pointed that out the last couple of games. So they're slowly starting to turn the game around in their favor, but they've still got a ways to go to look like the Colorado team we've seen for most of the year offensively.
Now Dupuis tied up by Butner, but Dupuis gets himself free, sends it back to the line, shoots a one-timer, and that was blocked before it got anywhere near Abisher. And as you see, we're down to the final 10 seconds of this Minnesota power play. 1-0, a first period goal by Milan Hajduk. Here is Weimer, back behind the Colorado net. Weimer gets himself free, out in front, right to the goal mouth, and the Wild couldn't get a stick on it. Out of the box comes Sakic. Wild trying to keep out of the pressure. Butner gets control, plays it up the boards, all the way down the ice. And icing on the touch-up here by Bombardier. Despite the power play by Minnesota, it remains 1-0 Colorado.
Was acquired yesterday for Martin Skula from Anaheim. He will be playing mostly on the left side here in Colorado. We played pretty well exclusively on the right side in Anaheim because they had so many left-hand players. Colorado is one of the very few teams in the National Hockey League that is absolutely loaded with right-handed defensemen. Doesn't happen often.
Here is Sakic. Takes it wide, dumps it to the front, and that's saved by Rolison. That might have been his best stop. And the puck rolls down. Abisher will play it.
Yeah, Rolison did a really good job of reading the play for Solani. Solani's the one who redirected the puck. He was right on the edge of the blue paint, so he didn't really have a chance for a shot. It was simply a redirection, and Rolison did the smart thing. He just came out and smothered him. You can see the frustration from Teemu Solani. 19 will set the play up right here. Top of your screen, number 8's going to the net. Right about now, you hear a yell, and look at Sakic. Sakic's ability to see everything, glances over his shoulder, finds a way to get there. But Mr. All-Star for Minnesota Wild this year, went to the All-Star game. Dwayne Rolison, terrific again on that one.
Look at his numbers in his last 9 starts. He has started 9 of the last 10, so that platoon system that worked so well last year, Rolison has just kind of taken things over here.
He really has.
Manny Fernandez was in goal for that 4-4 tie in New Jersey earlier in the week. Here comes Dupuis. Takes the puck wide, looks to the front of the net, and one hopper into the glove of Abisher. He hangs on. Well, stay tuned to ESPN2 when we're finished here. John Butchergrass will be joined by Referral and Barry Melrose. Have all the night's NHL highlights and news. Race for #1 draft pick, the Wild Wild West, and Avalanche making moves. All that coming up.
You're talking about Manny Fernandez and Rolison. There's Manny Fernandez. He hasn't played quite as well this year. He was the one actually who was in goal, who made the critical time when they beat this Colorado team last year.
That's right. Yep.
It was his series. Things haven't gone as well. Interestingly enough, I know in the Denver, I live in Denver, there have been a lot of talk that maybe this might be a guy that Colorado might acquire as a backup to David Abisher. Whether or not there's any proof, the truth to it, who knows? There are so many rumors flying around right now. But wouldn't that be something if he turned around and became an Avalanche player after he's the guy that helped knock him out last year? I'm not sure what the conversation is about here. The Avalanche have seen something they don't like and have questions for the referees.
Terry Gregson and Rob Martelli are the referees. That was Terry Gregson.
I think it's about the line change.
Yeah, line change.
They only have a certain amount of time when you're the visiting team, and I think they were rebuked on a line change, and Tony didn't like it.
Here is Sauer back behind his own net, making his Colorado debut. He's a native of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Yeah. So there's some comfort there. Sure, he had to come up with some tickets tonight. Now here comes Mark Schwinard. Let's say he scores! Mark Schwinard, who was robbed earlier, tied this game at 1.
This one David Avishur would like to have back. I mean, he just plain missed it. There must have been some stuff on it. Maybe it dropped on him. I'm not quite sure. Let's see if the puck was rolling when it's being shot. No, it looks like it's pretty flat. Possibly a deflection off the defenseman's stick. Because normally David Avishur doesn't miss a shot like this. It beat him on the short side. Avishur is still down right now. He just dropped down to his knees to try to reenact the shot and figure out where it went in. He just got back up on his feet. He dropped down and tried to replay it in his mind. How in the heck did that one get by me? But it did.
Well, that is the 6th of the year. Doesn't sound like much for Mark Schwinard, but his 3rd goal in 2 games. He had 2 against Vancouver, Brian. He missed 32 games with a broken jaw earlier this year. If they can get that big guy going, that certainly adds a dimension to Minnesota's attack.
Absolutely, because he is a huge man. And if you're going to play in the playoffs against big centermen, you need a big centerman on your team. He's not known for scoring, but if he can play a lot of ice time, that'll help. Ooh, a little bit of a, more than a little bit of a collision. That's Teemu Selanne getting dumped going into the net. And he is definitely shaken up. Shaking it up. Here's the goal. Good. Again from the turnover at the blue line. And we've talked over the last couple of years about Minnesota being good on turning the puck around and getting back up ice. But really, you know, it looked like a pretty routine play. Schwinard got a good shot at it. Only David Avishur knows for sure if there was any tip involved there. He just didn't like himself. But you know what? That's a lot like Patrick Watt.
Yeah.
He picked up so many things. He literally replayed it, dropped down to his knees afterwards while everybody was cheering, looked at himself. You could see him talking to himself. Okay, that went there. I should have been over here. Okay, got that. It won't happen again.
Time of the game, 7:08. And Henry, it's 7:08 for the Wild.
Alexander Day getting an assist, so he continues his hot hand with the helpers. And they announced Alex Henry with the other assist. I thought maybe Zuzan was the guy that played it ahead, but we'll wait and see as this puck is out of play.
Well, there's Carlos Skratstich, who's been new to Colorado at the start of this year. This guy was a terrific pickup, too. He's a heck of a player. People didn't know him very much in Nashville. He's played with Adam Foote most of the year. Foote is not in the lineup tonight, but they are as good a shutdown tandem as there is in the National Hockey League. And I think he was a very pleasant surprise for Avalanche fans. He's been very steady. Now, you know, you've got 3 major changes from last year's Colorado defense. It looks and feels completely different. They want to be tougher to play against. I think they've accomplished that.
Skratstich, a native of Riga, Latvia, represented Latvia in the Salt Lake Olympics back in 2002. Here's a giveaway and a shot by Dupuis that sails it wide. Colorado Avalanche, Brian, with 7 shots on goal so far in this game.
And some of it certainly is their own doing. We'll give Minnesota some credit, but Colorado just doesn't look like themselves. Apparently they're not out of this little slump that they're in. Now you're going on 3 games where they're just not getting scoring chances. They're not carrying the puck the way they normally do. A little bit of a skirmish there. McCormick down low on the near side, but they've broken it up. But Colorado, just not giving and going and dominating the puck like they normally do.
Well, Granato's got McCormick, Cummins, and Worrell out there. That's a line that can change the look of a game, but here comes Burnett. He is the leading scorer for this Minnesota team, but that doesn't necessarily strike fear into the hearts of the opposition because they're just not a high-scoring team. Penalty coming here against Minnesota. It'll be called on the touch-up by Dwayne Rolison. Terry Gregson.
I'm not sure if this is a high sticking call or a cross-checking call, but whatever it is, it's still going to be 2 minutes that Jacques Lemaire's guys are going to have to kill off because this Colorado power play is still plenty deadly.
Oh, yeah.
They still got so many guys. They do miss Peter Forsberg, though. I was looking at the numbers for Forsberg. He has missed 28 games as Forsberg, and he's still got 23 points on the power play. That is more than the top guy. Andrew Burnett has got 14 power play points for Minnesota. Forsberg's got 23. That's 9 more. And Forsberg has missed 28 games this year. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's just part of the difference in the power plays between Colorado and Minnesota.
Colorado third in the NHL with their power play percentage, first on the road. But how important is Peter Forsberg? Look at that.
Phenomenal.
Huge difference, obviously, with a man of his talent. First power play for Colorado, and Rolison will the stop here. So we're almost halfway through the second period, and this is the first time the Avalanche have had a power play, but we shouldn't be surprised at that because Minnesota has been one of the most disciplined teams in the league. Only New Jersey and Tampa Bay, and it's very close, have fewer penalties per game than Jacques Lemaire's club.
And that's all. That's Jacques Lemaire hockey. I mean, it was like that when they were in New Jersey. It's always been like that here in Minnesota. Needless penalties drive him absolutely crazy. And especially when you're a team that struggles to score and wants to play in tight games, the first thing you do is instill discipline, and this Minnesota team has it.
John Michael Lyles backhands it now into the Minnesota zone as we approach the halfway mark of the second period. Willie Mitchell leans on it and got it out of the zone. Chouinard trying to get around Derek Morris, who played it very smartly. Just kind of stayed in his lane. Derek Morris did, so he didn't draw a penalty, but prevented Chouinard from getting around him. Now Schultz for the Wild. Chips it up the boards, and it's out to center ice. Clark has it there. Clark had the only assist on the only Colorado goal in the first period by Hayduk. Chouinard has scored for the Wild here in the second. We're tied at 1. Minute remaining on this Minnesota penalty as Teemu Selanne had the puck knocked away, and it's cleared ahead. Here was Walls, one-on-one against Grastic. Walls with a drive, left pad save made by Abisher.
Wes Walls is a really smart guy. He's an excellent penalty killer. He's got the speed and he's got some good hands. When he's scoring goals, he's a real streaky scorer. When he gets chances like that, even shorthanded, Walls can be a handful.
Well, you just saw Milan Hayduk again make a nifty move to get into the zone. Now he beats it back to the line. Clark hands it back to Hayduk. Hayduk pass broken up by Mitchell. Mitchell couldn't get it by Clark. It stays in the zone. 20 seconds remaining in the penalty to Henry. And now Bombardier gets it for the Wild. Clears it to center. Oh! Clark nearly took it away from.
He's lucky.
Clark absolutely.
Completely mishandled that. Richard Park would have had a breakaway.
Now Derek Morris gets to it, drives a shot, doesn't get through. Just one shot on goal for the Avalanche on that power play, but another chance here. No, the stick broke. How many times have we seen that? And now Derek Morris has to play defense without a stick, but oh, he goes it the right way. Or did he?
No, he's not happy. He's going to get an elbowing penalty, I think, there. He really took him out. Even David Abisher's got a couple of words for Wes Walls. Wes Walls is the one who took the brunt of that hit. Wes Walls coming down. Morris is here. Take that.
Well, that looks like a pretty good hit to me.
Ouch. Derek Morris in the penalty box. He was unhappy. He got 4 minutes altogether. Now watch, Wes Walls' head is pretty low when he tries to knife through there. Now on one angle it looks like Morris just used the forearm. That one looked like there was an elbow sticking out. He got called for elbowing and then 2 minutes for arguing about it.
Yeah. Thought it was a pretty clean play.
I thought it looked good too.
Here is Bouchard, a 4-minute power play opportunity for the Wild in a 1-1 game. Straight away, Gabbert, he breaks the stick. Oh, and then he throws it. Got to be careful there. Now a pass to the front of the net. Just over the top. Sakic, one hand on the stick. Still got it toward the net. Here is Sakic again now, just trying to kill some time on this short-handed situation.
As slow as that puck was moving to Sakic, you could see him actually judge, do I have time to get it and make a play, or should I just swipe at it? And you could see him make the swipe at it.
Now the Wild get it into the Colorado zone, but the centering attempt intercepted. And Hayduk now will kill some time and look to create something with Tanguay. Tanguay trying to go back to Hayduk, and that was picked off. And here come the Wild back the other way. Neat pass. And it comes to Eric Chouinard. He peels back now, looking for some help. Hands it off in deep. Alexander Daig has it there. Daig behind the net. Hands it off on the far side. 45 seconds remaining in the first minor penalty against Derek Morris. Out to the line, it deflects, held in by Gavin. Sets it up to clear shot, he missed the net. Boy, did he pull the trigger in tight quarters there. Avalanche able to clear.
Oh, that was nice. That's touch. That's touch of excellent players there. Gabrick, I believe, threaded that one in. Dupuis pulled the trigger real quick. That's just a good touch play.
Here's a wrist shot from Gabrick that's deflected before it got to Abisher, and it's cleared You know, talking about Gabrick throwing that stick kind of in frustration when he broke it, but see that play the other night, the Philadelphia-Atlanta game?
Yeah. You can get 2 minutes for that. You're just supposed to drop your stick. If you break your stick, you're just supposed to drop it.
Well, they got the penalty shot because they threw it at the puck during a man advantage.
Yeah, so if there's a stick in front of you, you can clear it out of your path, but you can't shoot it towards another player. But you can cause penalties there and penalty shots even.
And Simon Gagner scored what proved to be the game winner. No shots on that first 2-minute advantage, and we're into the second of the 2 minors that were called against Derek Morris. This will hurt even more if Minnesota does score here. If you're Derek Morris, you can't wait for this penalty to end.
Oh, yeah. But so far, Colorado's done a pretty good job. And Tony Granato uses about 8 or 9 different guys on a lot of nights on killing penalties, and a lot of them include Hayduke and Tanguay and Sakic and Correa. So you got to have your wits about you defensively every time.
Goltak holding it in for the Wild, sends it to the far side of the Avalanche zone. That's cleared out.
But you know what? The Minnesota power play does not give up very many shorthanded goals against. They're at the low end of the scale there. They're better than most teams in the league in that department.
Mark Schwannard drops it back. Andrew Burnett checked there by Wiles. Wiles around the board. Hayduke chopped at it. Good second effort by Milan Hayduke. That won't show up in a stat sheet, but that's a big play.
You bet. And then when your top players, your top offensive players, make plays that are sacrifices like that on second effort, it's catching in a good way for Colorado.
Winding down on this 4-minute power play, and the Avalanche come up with a Konowalchuk. Will send it all the way down the ice.
Yeah, Colorado's in control of this power play.
Yeah. Still no shots on goal so far. And we're down to the last 30 seconds of this 4-minute advantage. Alexander Day sweeps it along the board. Krastich gets there, and he gets it out of the zone. Rolison trying to catch the Avalanche on a change here, but that pass can look out. Oh, he almost didn't get back. Yeah, absolutely.
Rolison was way over on the far boards, and Krastich knew he had a long ways to get back. He didn't miss the net ball much there.
4-minute power play, no shots for Minnesota. Now Mitchell. Bombardier chips it ahead. Avalanche able to regain control. Krastich stuffs it down toward the Minnesota line. Nearly turned over. Now it is. Kulichev's shot though was blocked. Here come the Wild the other way. Maybe catching Colorado on a change. Good shot. That's a shot, and that was deflected up onto the netting and out of play. Well, we mentioned this is an anniversary of an important date in USA history. We'll tell you what it is when we.
Their time is over. It's done. Tired of hearing about how great this Soviet team is.
Kurt Russell in his great acting role as Herb Brooks, the head coach. And yes, it was 24 years ago today that USA defeated the Russians 4-3. Mike Ramsey, assistant coach with the Wild, was part of that team. And that's one of those significant dates in sports history where you generally remember where you were. Remember that game was showed on tape delay.
And the funny thing was, I mean, that's the game that's talked about, but they didn't actually win the gold medal until the next game.
Yep, they had to defeat Finland. They were behind in that game after 2 periods and came back and beat Finland to win the gold.
24 years ago. Wow.
Wild able to clear it out here. 1-1 our score with 3:45 remaining in the second period. Colorado looking for 2 points to pull back even with their arch rivals from Detroit, the top of the conference, and Minnesota coming into this game 7 points out of a playoff spot, and 3 teams they have to climb over. Here is Sakic with it now. Sakic, Mitchell falls down. Sakic trying to take advantage. Oh, they're saying it's in the net. Yes, it is, says the referee.
That went off.
That was a strange play.
That went off a Minnesota defenseman's foot. That was Correa trying to go to the front of the net, but I'm sure Joe Sakic is going to get credit for this. He's trying to thread the needle into the front. I think it might have been Willie Mitchell's foot. And Rolison had it go between his legs. He thought it was under him for a minute, but then couldn't feel it. Now Sakic's got the puck, trying to get it in front of the net. And definitely off the heel of the skate there. I'm not sure if that was 5 or 2. Southwest Airlines goal cam might help us out. And where's it go? 5 hole? Yeah. Short side actually under the left foot of Rolison. So it was actually off of number 5, Brad Bombardier. Bad break there from Minnesota. Good luck for Joe Sakic.
Just the 10th shot on goal. And the 24th goal of the season for Joe Sakic, if he does get credit for it. And ties Frank Mahavlich, 22nd all-time, 533rd career goal.
Well, Joe's in that point of his career too, well, where he's just going to constantly climb the charts. He's a long way from finished yet. He scored so many goals and so many points, and they're going to let more on his belt. Yeah.
Time to go 16:42. Second from at
16:42, the time of the goal. And they do announce an assist to Paul Kariya. A lot of times they won't give an assist on a play like that, where it goes off the defenseman's stick directly or skate directly into the net. And here come the Wild right back. Weimer hands it off. He tried to set it up for Brunette, but that's turned over. And back comes Alex Tanguay the other way for Colorado. Did Sauer hold it in? Yes, he did. Now here's Hayduk. Throws it to the side of the Minnesota goal. 2.5 remaining here in the second period. Dave Strader along with Brian Engblom and the rest of our NHL on ESPN2 crew. Here's a turnover by the Avalanche. Dupuis, a shot. Good left-hand save by Abisher. Dumped back out in front, but the Avalanche are there. Here's Solani and Kariya crisscrossing. Solani peels back inside the line. Hands it off for Kariya. Goes back to the front of the net. Kariya tried to stuff it in front. And it's deflected off the netting and out of play. Well, stay with us here between periods 2 and 3. The Southwest Intermission Report. T-Mac is fined. Might be for that drop kick I saw on the Sports Center highlights the other night. Chicago OT thriller. And Martin Havlat with a hat trick. All that coming up on the Southwest Intermission Report.
Martin Havlat and the Ottawa Senators, boy, what a strong team they are. Got stronger a couple of days ago with that trade for Peter Bondra. They're going to be fun to watch in the playoffs.
Are they ever? They did change that assist on the Minnesota goal to Zuzan, not Henry. So Dake and Zuzan assisted on the only Minnesota goal scored by Mark Schwinard. Gabbert played it around the boards. It's held in on the far side by Moore. And now back comes Gabrick with speed to the outside. Puts on the brakes. Hands it off now. Bombardier shot. Tipped just wide. Somebody without a stick out there. It's one of the Colorado defensemen, Derek Morris. He'll have a chance now to go back and get it.
That was a good, smart heads-up play. I think that was Richard Park right off to the side, but Brad Bombardier didn't try to fire the puck hard to score a goal. That was a shot pass, I would call it, and very nearly deflected in by Park.
Park's shot was stopped there by Abisher. And the Avalanche able to clear. Alex Henry hands it off for Mark Schwinard. NHL.com for score, stats, fantasy, and the official store of the NHL. NHL.com. If it's hockey, it's here. Just over a minute now remaining here in the second period. Each team has scored a goal in period 2. And the Avs also had one in the first. They lead it 2-1. This bounces back into the Avalanche zone. Abisher sets it up there. XL Energy Center here in St. Paul. Home of the 2004 NHL All-Star Game. The venue for our NHL on ESPN2 telecast tonight.
The interesting thing, earlier in the game, I talked about Colorado's defense usually being good at putting the puck on the tape coming out of the zone. That's certainly not true in this game. Boy, they've used the boards a lot. They've used the glass a lot. Give Minnesota a lot of credit for that on their forechecking. Colorado has not moved the puck very efficiently coming up the ice, especially from, say, the bottoms of the circles in their zone up into the center red line. Not very smooth.
Puck knocked down there and whistled down by the linesman.
Well, Minnesota's got to feel like they're coming out on the short end of the stick a little bit here. Jacques Lemaire's guys have played a pretty good game here, and yet they're behind on the scoreboard. Scoring chances 14-5 in favor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And yet they're losing 2-1.
Final 15 seconds of the period. Wes Walz with it now for Minnesota. Plays it off the boards on the far side. Steve Moore steps into it, but the Wild get it right back. And this second period is going to come to an end with the Avalanche holding a 1-goal advantage at 2-1. It was 1-0 Colorado on a first period goal by Hayduk, but then Mark Schwinard was able to score right there to tie the game. Joe Sakic got a strange one late in the period to give us the 2-1 score. Southwest Intermission Report with John and Barry after the.
The NHL on ESPN2. Brought to you by Heineken. It's all about the beer. Heineken. And Kia Motors. Kia, make every mile count.
Oh, it's good to see Diana Ross is out of jail and playing a little goal. Someday we'll be together. 2-1 Avalanche lead the Wild. Dave Strader back along with my Supreme, Brian Engblom, and that's enough of those references.
Oh, I can't sing.
Joe Sakic scores his 24th goal, his 17th goal on the road. I mean, it's amazing how many of the numbers with Colorado jump out with how well they play on the road versus at home.
Well, I mean, Colorado's got so many weapons. And when a guy is playing well, and Joe Sakic's been playing well probably since the middle of November, a bit of a slow start, but these guys just find ways to score goals. I mean, this Colorado team is awesome. This guy leads them year after year after year in such a subdued fashion that, you know, he's going to get the odd goal from behind the net like that. But Colorado still has a ways to go, certainly, to get back to what we normally see from them offensively. This is not the normal show. They lost 5-1 a couple of days ago against Edmonton, and Joe really popped off. Papers and everything. They closed the doors after the game, and there was a lot of steam coming out when they opened them again.
I like what he said, because he said we have to keep in mind that people are paying a lot of money to watch us play, and he said that might have been our worst performance ever.
And he doesn't talk a lot, that's for sure. Joe's not a guy who's yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff. He leads by example, but he is the captain. You know what? That's the interesting thing about this Colorado team over, you know, the entire time really that they've been in Denver, and they made the move from Quebec. They are a team that will close the doors, and they point fingers and they iron things up. And Patrick Waugh was always a guy, one of the main guys, to get right in there and say, look, we're lousy, I'm lousy, you got to do this, we got to do that. I mean, they don't beat around the bush. They close the door, and like I said, there's steam coming out after they're finished.
All business for the Colorado Avalanche. That's why they have a couple of Stanley Cups under their belt and have been in contention for many more, and they're going to contend again this spring.
It's interesting, though, the dynamics of different teams. I mean, there are other teams that just couldn't and wouldn't be able to do that, and if they did, or only a couple of guys did it, then the rest of the team would feel alienated and upset. So if that kind of stuff doesn't work for every team, but it certainly works for the Avalanche. It depends on the makeup of the character of the guys you have and what kind of collective personality they have. Just the way these guys operate.
Well, let's take a look at those Western Conference standings again, see what we're up against as we move through the month of February. Detroit leading just by 2 points over Colorado. San Jose, what a turnaround they have had. Vancouver, of course, is chasing Colorado for that division lead. And then the race at the bottom, I mean, it is so tight. 5 teams within 2 points of each other with 4 spots available, and that's not counting Edmonton and Minnesota that are just 7 points back of that last spot.
And then yet Colorado came off just a stellar January. They had one loss the entire month. Well, they pick up 26 points in the month of January. Milan Hajduk and his guys, I mean, they were just smoking. And at the same time, after all that, Vancouver's still right on their tail in that division. And Detroit is in front of them right now by 2 points in the overall situation in the West. So pretty interesting stuff for the top teams.
Look at Colorado, projected at 107 points at this pace, be the second highest in franchise history. And, you know, so much is made, and rightfully so, of the Detroit and Colorado rivalry, but look out for this Vancouver-Colorado rivalry, which has been there kind of on the back burner for the last couple of years.
If you talk to people in Denver, a lot of people feel that Vancouver is already a bigger thing than Detroit. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Detroit games sell out, you know, in about a heartbeat when they come to Denver, but the Vancouver thing is huge because they are in the same division.
All they're talking about in Vancouver still is the hit by Steve Moore, the Avalanche on Marcus Naslund that knocked him out for about a week now on the injured list. Concussion. No penalty on the play. It was reviewed and nothing further as Abisher at the side of the net has to be strong on the left post with the wraparound attempt there by Richard Park. I knew I'd call him Brad one time. It's not a bad thing to call a hockey player.
Yeah. There's Steve Moore, and he sort of just ended up in the middle of that thing. You talked about the hit on Naslund. I didn't think it was a bad hit. Naslund was in a tough situation. He was sort of leaning down, and Moore came across in the opposite direction and finished his check. And it ended up in a concussion for Naslund. That Vancouver people are naturally extremely upset, and I can understand that. But Moore, being a good Harvard guy, was smart. He kept his head down, didn't say much about the whole thing.
No. Connor Walchuk sends it ahead now. Cummins, and look out, he put that puck right up into the end of the Minnesota bench. It is out of play.
We'll take a look at the division titles. 9 straight they've had for Colorado, going for their 10th consecutive division title. Last year, they led on the first day, and on the very last day, they overtook Vancouver. And Vancouver will never forget that. They don't want that to happen again. They'd love to be the ones that come from behind right now and retake that lead. Of course, what's at stake is home ice advantage.
Of course, Colorado, for winning the division, ended up getting Minnesota in the playoffs, and that didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, really, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
It's never easy, and more so than ever going into the playoffs. A lot of good teams lose in the first round every year.
Here's Brunette doing a good job keeping this puck alive near that Colorado net. Now Henry tries to set it up for Dupuis. Susan on the far side holds it in. Centering pass, and here come the Wild again as Weimer sends it across in front of Abinger, but nobody there.
He must have seen a shadow or reflection or something, because that was kind of past to nobody.
Here is Sakic, dumps it toward the net. Rolison has it on the glove, and he hangs on as Connor Walchuk is shoved out of there.
Well, Weimer's done a good job for Minnesota. I mean, he's been a real good addition. He's a hard guy to play against. He's good on face-off. Number 28 right here will end up with the puck, and he throws it in front. He just throws it to an open space, thinking one of my guys has got to be there. But unfortunately for him, nobody was there. Made the right play, but not to anybody.
No goals in his last 19 games. Picked up off waivers from the New York Islanders back in mid-November. Jason Weimer.
And helping them on face-offs is no small thing, because Minnesota, that's one area they've struggled really the entire time of their existence. This year is no different. They're one of the poorer teams in the National Hockey League when it comes to face-offs.
Lead pass for Daigle, doesn't get much on the shot as he was handcuffed there by Kurt Sauer. And back comes Milan Hajduk, who has one of the 2 Colorado goals on the playoff side at the Minnesota line. Well, once again, you logged on to ESPN.com. You told us which game you wanted to see, and tomorrow ESPN2 delivers with Brett Hall and the Detroit Red Wings visiting Ryan Smith of the Edmonton Oilers. NHL on ESPN2 Ice Pitch tomorrow at 9 Eastern, followed by NHL tonight. For more, log on to ESPN.com, and we have some other ice picks for you to choose from.
And, you know, the interesting thing for Edmonton is that they've been giant killers lately. They have not had a terrific season, but lately they've had some of their best games, the most successful games against top teams in the league, including this Colorado team that they beat 5-1 just a couple of days ago.
Just 11 shots for the Avalanche to this point, 17 for the Wild. We've already had, what, 8 face-offs here in the opening moments of this third period. Not an area that the Minnesota Wild have excelled at this season, as Brian mentioned earlier. Second worst face-off team percentage-wise in the league. Korea backhanding this puck off the glass deep into the Wild zone. Rolison decides to let it go. Kuba moves it quickly now for Schultz, his defense partner. Now Bouchard with it. That pass was intended for Walsh, but was tipped away. Kuleshov rolls it back in deep. Rolison moves it quickly. Wild looking to come out of the zone. Pushed out to center ice, but the Avalanche are there. But Colorado all of a sudden just suffocating things in the neutral zone.
It's a good road game, and I think they feel fortunate to be ahead in this game, but they're standing up well at the blue line. And again, that can be a little tough. Again, don't forget, you got those 2 new defensemen back there, and communication is everything, and just still trying to settle in with a brand new team. You got Sauer out there and Bob Bugner. So when it looks like things are held together, every once in a while there can be a leak just because of lack of communication. Andrew Brunette is leading Minnesota, who is not a high-scoring team, but is one of the lowest totals of anybody leading a team in scoring. Andrew Brunette, and you know, again, it's not unusual for this team. This team is about defense. 36 points. You see the other guys from Carolina and Pittsburgh and their point total, so it's the third lowest. And Colorado, in comparison, this Colorado team has 5 guys on their team that have more points than Brunette.
Andrew Brunette, of course, was the Game 7 hero against Patrick Roy and the Avalanche last spring. This puck rolls in wide of Rolison, icing now against Colorado. So the game that had a pretty good pace going up and down is really kind of slowed down to a crawl.
Alex Tanguay and the Avalanche are putting the onus on Minnesota to to get themselves back in the game, to generate something offensively. So Andrew Brunette and Marion Gaborik and their more skilled guys are going to have to find a way to get around Derek Morris and the Avalanche players and get into the open seams, or if nothing else, just get pucks to the net and get some rebounds.
Here is Riku Hall now for the Avalanche. Didn't clear, held in, shot deflected just wide. That was Brunette. He got tangled up there a bit with Abisher, and the Avalanche able to clear the zone.
That was choice B on the list I just gave you.
Yeah.
Get pucks to the net, get guys in front. They very nearly got a chance. And by the way, Brunette got a pretty good shot in on Abisher.
Yes, he did. There was some contact. As it comes now to Kuba. He slides it center right. Mark Swinard, who has the only Minnesota goal. Now Daig with it, snaps it in behind Abisher.
This would be a good time for Daig to snap out of his slump, too.
Yeah.
He's 11 games without a goal for Alexander Daig. And this is where you need your defense to jump in on the play and try to help create something. Minnesota's defense is not really geared that way. They have half as many goals and half as many points collectively as the Colorado defense do. So it just shows you what you're up against, just comparing the two teams all the time.
Play is offside at the Minnesota blue line. Joe Sakic's strange goal in the second period is the difference right now. Colorado with a 2-1 lead. Very often a family event here at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. A lot of youngsters here in attendance. A lot of wild jerseys. Minnesota wearing their third jersey here against Colorado as this puck at the line is held in. Morris shot sails in just wide of Rolison. Connor Walchuk is there. Kuleshov has it knocked away, and the Wild able to come up with it. And Marion Gaborik was noticeable the first couple of periods. They need him to be noticeable here in the third. He's out there right now on the forecheck. Connor Walchuk for the Avs able to clear. Now Henry with it. Richard Park got a stick on it, tapped it in deep. Krastich drops it back now. Derek Morris checked by Park. Minnesota's still very comfortable playing in these kind of games. Drop pass, Avalanche on the rush. Shot did not get through to Rolison. Now Kuba plays it to the corner. But it's taken by Riku Hall. Taken off of his stick. We're at the XL Energy Center. NHL on ESPN2. Dave Strader, Brian Engblom, and the rest of our crew here on a Sunday night. Played outside. You might be able to hear one of the linesmen saying it's offside. Move it, and they do.
Boy, there is just no room out there. Both teams have really clamped down. It's a good point you made. Minnesota is used to this, and they're not panicking yet. They've still got over 12 minutes to go here. They're only down by 1 goal, and they're willing to play this game with Colorado. I think they're probably thinking, hey, we could probably play this game longer than you guys can.
Yeah.
See what you do.
Now, so far this year as Solani accelerates and just had it tipped away as Rolison came out to play it. So far this year in games involving the Wild, they have been tied or within a goal for 81% of the playing time this season, which is the highest percentage in the National Hockey League. Well, they are very much used to being close to the opposition, tied, ahead by 1, down by 1, doesn't seem to matter to them.
Their attitude in all those is that we got you right where we want you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, except now, as we showed the standings before, the fact that they have so many ties and they trail in the win column against a lot of the teams they're battling with for a playoff spot, they really do need to start picking up 2 points at a time. And an icing call here against Colorado.
We talked about all the different players that Colorado's added over the last year or so. Here's another one they added at the beginning of the year, Steve Konowalchuk. What a terrific addition this guy is to this team. He can play in all situations. He can play wing on the first line. He can play center for you. Excellent penalty killer. Power play guy. He'll go to the front of the net and battle. He's an excellent leader in the room, just all the way around. They've been absolutely enthused and so happy that they picked this guy up. He's worked out perfectly right from day one.
Here is Gaborik now. For Park, back for Gaborik behind the net. Now Richard Park working against 2 Colorado players. Krastich and Morris, the 2 defensemen. Now here's Gaborik again. Rolls it back for Joel Talk. Joel Talk stood up there by Morris. Gaborik comes over to help out. Taps it back in deep. Park trying to get back there. Krastich falls down. Able to play the puck to Sakic. Up the boards. Alex Henry stepped up there, but the puck is chipped over the glass and out of play. Well, let's take you back and take a look at the goals we've had so far.
Well, in the first period, when Minnesota had most of the offensive chances, Milan Haydu came down and does what he does best. I mean, not many people score a goal like that. Then Mark Chouinard gets a decent scoring chance, and not a great one. He just plain fooled David Abisher on that one. And then Joe Sakic, not even a scoring chance. He's trying to set one up. From behind the net, he has banks one in off the foot of Brad Bombardier, so it's 2-1 Colorado, and Colorado feels good about it. They haven't played their best game offensively again for about the 4th consecutive game now.
Each team with just 2 shots on goal as we approach the halfway mark of this 3rd period. Good look at those 3rd jerseys.
I like them.
Yeah.
I like the color combos. Reminds me of the old New Jersey Devil stuff when they had
that's right.
The green and red combination.
Back in the Claude Loisel era.
Yes.
As Claude likes to call it. Now working with the National Hockey League. Haydu, nifty little between the legs pass, but the Wild had it covered. And it comes now to Chouinard, hands it off for Dave, went back for Eric Chouinard, but again the Avalanche playing well in their own zone, and nothing comes of that. Now a bouncing puck avoids Daig, and the Wild backing up to get control. And this is whistled down by the linesman. The Wild need to come back. They're just 1 goal away, but not much has happened so far here in the 3rd. Can Minnesota mount a...
Nails are almost dry.
Yeah, that's right.
Right from a fresh manicure. Only took about 3 or 4 hours.
Just past the halfway mark of the 3rd period. Avalanche lead it now 3-1. What a goal by Korea. Just about to say that not much has happened because not much has happened here in the 3rd. But that's what a lineup like this can do when there's so few chances. If a guy like Paul Korea gets this chance, this is the result. And
this is just a sweeping backhand. I don't know any better way. And he is one of the best backhanders of the puck in the National Hockey League. But that's great concentration, really, you know, that because the puck was rolling. He wanted to just get it on net, and he was ready to jump there for a rebound. But it dipped and dived, and there were players between him and Rolison. Rolison never was able to pick it up. It completely handcuffed him. Now Colorado's got that comfortable 2-goal lead.
Of course, Korea missing a lot of games this year because of the wrist injury. This is just his 30th game. That'll be his 8th goal of the season. But here's a guy that a few years ago averaged better than 5 shots a game.
Yep.
And he's averaging less than 2 shots a game for the 30 that he's played in. He can't be 100% from that wrist.
No, probably not all the way. That was a look at Andrew Burnett.
Yeah, he looks shaken up.
Minnesota got shaken up on that last shift. Yeah, well, Paul says he's feeling okay, but I mean, he has been out so long. The thing is, when you're out for such a long time and you aren't a goal scorer and his wrist was bothering him, obviously, you can't practice. So he doesn't have the same feel. He doesn't have the same confidence level. But as far as being 100%, yeah, he says he is. But you know what? The thing about Korea, he doesn't chop at the puck and he doesn't slap the puck a lot. I mean, he sweeps the puck forehand and, in that case, backhand for that goal more and better than pretty well anybody in the National Hockey League.
Tougher on the wrist or easier with that motion?
It'd be worse. Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, generating the leverage just with the wrist rather than full swing. 3-1 Colorado with a 2-goal advantage. So the Wild really with their work cut out for them. Colorado 3 goals on just 12 shots. Here is Daig now, and Eric Chouinard just in there ahead of the play, and we showed you Andrew Burnett a few moments ago.
Now we have a good look here on the replays. We find out and show you how he got hurt. 15 red. He's going to end up getting the end of a stick, I think, from number 34. Oh yes, he got it jammed up right underneath the ribs there. Just a pile up of players. Oh yeah, that's nasty. That's an awful feel. There's really nothing in the midsection, the stomach and the lower ribs. They're completely uncovered. No equipment covers it.
Mark Chouinard, who still has the only Wild goal, sweeps it deep into the Colorado zone. Here's Eric Chouinard centering, pass deflected up in the air, and Abisher says, "I'll take that." Stay Stay tuned here to ESPN2 when we are finished. John Butchergrass will be joined by Referral and Barry Melrose. NHL Tonight, all the highlights and news from around the league. Race for the #1 draft pick. And as the guys were explaining, you finish last, you don't automatically get that #1 pick. There was a lottery system, Wild Wild West, and the Avalanche making moves. And are they about to make some more?
That was a look at Jean-Michel Lyles there, who played in the U.S. National 17 under and 18 under system when it first started out. A little chat with Lyles before the game. Interesting program that's developed some great players in the U.S. now. Whoa, big scoring chance there coming out of the corner for Minnesota. But Lyles played with guys like DiPietro, a goalie for the Islanders, Andy Hilbert in Boston, Jordan Leopold, and David Tanabe. All came out of that program when it first started out. And, of course, they won the National Junior Championship, the USA team did, this year, and congratulations to that. But Jean-Michel Lyles, a product of that system that's still very young.
They tried to set up Dupuis as the Wild, getting everybody involved offensively. Kuleshov for the Avalanche plays it back deep behind the Minnesota net. 7 minutes straight up left here in the third. Avalanche with a 3-1 lead and looking to climb up to 80 points, increase their division lead over Vancouver, move into a point tie with Detroit in the conference. And of course, we'll have Detroit for you tomorrow night. In Edmonton, a steal by Gabrick. Gabrick centering pass. Schultz has moved up. Puck bounced off his stick. Well, those are the kind of plays, Brian, that have to happen bang, bang.
Exactly. And then Schultz moved in. It was the right play all the way around. They just couldn't execute the shot and obviously the goal. Schultz not known for his hands, but the thought was there. The process was there. I mentioned that Minnesota just gets exactly half the production from their defense offensively that Colorado does. And in a game like this is where you really have to generate it, because today's National Hockey League, and we're going to see an example of it here in this third period, both teams are playing each other so close that a lot of times offense only comes from defensemen jumping up the plays like Schultz just did. You got to score.
Now you look at Minnesota's record, you're talking about all these ties. You go back into about mid-December, Brian, and they're 3 games over 500, 11-8, 11 ties and 2 overtime losses. That means 21 of those 32 games they did not win. So there's so many different ways of looking at those numbers. You know, more wins than losses, but as far as the total number of games, 11 wins in 32 games is not a pace that's going to get you in the playoffs.
No, that's true, but I'll tell you what, too, up until this last few minutes when Colorado has shut down Minnesota, and you can see where they struggle to get offense in these situations, Minnesota played a very strong game for 2 periods, and they're going to get a chance here on the power play, I believe.
Well, they're going to need something on the power play, because this goal, the sweeping backhander by Correa, has given Colorado a 2-goal advantage. Minnesota power play when we... Love that Amstel Light commercial. Reminds me of our producer Mike Baker when he was a goalie.
Great lateral movement.
Yeah.
2 minutes 4 interference. Out of the penalty, 14-12.
He's trimmed down a lot since his playing days.
14-12.
Now Mark Schwannard dumps it in. Wild on the power play. You see 0 for 4. And just 4 shots. They didn't have a single shot in that 4-minute power play in the second period. And that's come back to haunt them. And here they are with a chance to get to within 1. Fanned down by Mark Schwannard. Kuba shot. And that went just wide. That might have been a half pass, half shot.
That was a good setup to Mark Schwannard. I don't know if Correa got back and lifted his stick a little bit, or if it was just a plain fan there by
he did get
a good puck move.
Yep. Big by Kuba. Sends it on the far side for Daig. Daig takes it down to the corner. Works it back to Kuba. Near side, one-timer Joltok saved by Abisher. Abisher saw that coming, developing, and he has moved over.
They would like to get some shots there for Joltok, because Joltok's got 7 goals in his last 8 games.
Here's a steal by the Avalanche. And back comes Sakic, and Correa decides to go to the bench. Sakic gets a shot away save. Rebound chance was blocked by Kuba.
And there's a world-class player. That was almost a little rope-a-dope. There was a little bit of a hesitation there, and Sakic tried to put the goaltender and the defenseman to sleep. I'm just going to kind of dump it in, and then real quick shot on Rolison, who had really struggled to make the save.
Well, that would have been the game right there if Sakic scores shorthanded. But here comes Minnesota again. Gabrick has it. Half a minute remaining in the Colorado penalty. Gabrick sends it down deep, goes to the front of the net. Instead, it goes out to the line. Park sweeps it across on the near side. Susan. Back around for Brunette. Brunette being pressured along the end boards. Wrapped up there by Bugner. Now Weimer hands it off. They come back to the line. One-timer on the way. Tipped, and Amateur made the stop. 5 seconds left on the power play. It comes back to the corner. Gabrick makes a nifty move. It rolls off his stick. Picked up by Brunette. Brunette looks, sends it out, face-off circle. Drive! Avalanche, did he get a piece of that part? Stepped right into it, into the face-off circle.
I think Bob Bugner actually made the save on that. Bugner came out and confronted Park and got a peel, maybe even his foot on it, and just deflected it wide.
Here's Solani dumping it toward the Minnesota goal. Well, the Wild, who had picked up the pace on the power play, 0 for 5 tonight. Drop pass on a shot here and a save by Rolison. Riku Hall just off the bench, and that deflected to the Minnesota goal. And leads to the Wild breaking the other way. Bouchard bumps into it. Deflected off a Avalanche player right toward Abisher. That was Garrick Morris, the defenseman. Here's Bouchard behind the net. Wrapper on his stop. Loose between the circles. And Riku Hall able to clear.
Well, Minnesota doing a real good job of hunting the puck down now. They have to be desperate offensively. That wraparound chance, there were 3 Minnesota guys going to the front of the net. So they're trying to do it the right way.
Here is Schultz trying to make a play with it. Hands it off. Joltok, Brian mentioned, has been on a roll. Back to the line. Easy glove save for Abisher. He will hang on.
David Abisher has been a busy boy. They're coming at him from every direction, and they had the power play chance, so they had a lot of puck possession. This was the wraparound chance, or the feedback to the point, rather, and that's where I'm talking about Bob Bugner.
Oh, yeah.
White.
Yep.
He's a little bit lucky there, but he's the one that got a piece of it. David Abisher was in good position. And then here's Rolison, Southwest Airlines goal camp. It just shows you that was the Sakic chance, shorthanded. He had to shoot that right leg out because Sakic came down, and that's the rope-a-dope one I was talking about. We didn't get a chance to see Sakic there, but you saw how quickly Rolison had to shoot that leg out. Sakic's got so many tricks up his sleeve, and he just fired that one so quick, tried to catch him napping.
Goalies never nap, do they?
I'm not sure.
Brunette dumps it in front. Set just wide. Dupuis had a lot of room to the left of Abisher.
If you think of the first 2 periods, you remember Dupuis had 2 really good scoring chances early on in the game, and in that one was excellent. I don't think he got the puck flush. I'm still not sure how it stayed out.
Here is Susan, makes the move, unscratched it, cuts in. Susan puts on the break. Now tries to center. Kicked away, cleared out to center ice. Connor Walchuk will pick it up. Just over 2 minutes left here in the 3rd period. Colorado on their way to snapping this 3-game losing streak. And the Wild, after gaining a big point on the road in Jersey and just thumping Vancouver here 6-2 the other night, unable to keep that momentum going.
Down 2 goals. Jacques Lemaire is not really known for being super aggressive, like pulling a goaltender way early like this when you're 2 goals down and trying to score. I've never seen him be a big fan of that, so I wouldn't suspect that he would do that here. And there hasn't been any indication towards Rolison. That last chance by Dupuis, one of the best. Number 11 in red will get this scoring chance. Good play to the front of the net. Abisher tracking the puck well, the goaltender. It's rolling. So Abisher did a good job there of deflecting that puck. So that's why Dupuis was not able to shovel that one. We had at least half the net to shoot at, did Pascal Dupuis. But in his defense, because it was rolling, it had just been, the trajectory had been adjusted a little bit by David Abisher's stick. That's why he missed.
A little bit surprised that they don't pull Rolison here down by 2 face-off.
Well, I was just saying that. Jacques Lemaire is pretty conservative. He's not known to do that a whole lot. So I wouldn't think he would pull him very early. Jacques got a penchant for being pretty conservative in that department.
Joltok rolls it across, and it's picked up now by Sakic. Sakic takes a look, dumps it toward the goal mouth area. Nobody there for the Avalanche to deflect it. Now Solani being worked over by Susan. Back to the line. Scratched with a shot. Intercepted in front. Breakaway pass for Gabrick. Hustling over Bugner. Gabrick. Save by Abisher.
You know what? Both of these things are great. The move by Gabrick at hyper speed is outstanding, and David Abisher's save is even better. I mean, what a terrific glove save. This guy is so exciting. Here's the breakaway pass. Look at him turn the jets on. But that little nifty move to go inside, outside like that, how good is that? And then David Abisher says, how good is this? That's the best.
Down to 105, and still Dwayne Rolison in the goal. So with a 2-goal deficit.
The best Minnesota player, though, has been Marian Gaborik. I mean, he's been the most dynamic. He has back-checked 3 times and probably saved goals, possibly all 3 times. So I think Gabrick's been active both ends.
Here is Weimer trying to get free. Gets the shot away, and Abisher Didn't have to make much of a save. They're able to gather it in. Adding to the importance of this game, Brian, when you look ahead at Minnesota's schedule, they go on the road back-to-back nights to play Nashville and Dallas. They come home to play one game against Carolina, and then Jacques Lemaire's club goes to Anaheim, LA, Phoenix, San Jose, Vancouver.
Big swing out west.
On a big swing out west. So 7 of their next 8 on the road, and that 8-game stretch may determine whether this team is in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, the way things are right now, they probably can't get themselves right into it, but they can certainly get themselves out of that right out of it in the next couple of games.
Now Sakic gets to it, kicks the puck ahead. Into the zone with Milan Hajduk. Sakic will wait, takes a look, tried to get it to Hajduk, but was tied up, yes. That was Weimer, I believe, that came back, number 28.
His timing was perfect because Sakic's timing was perfect. He drifted that puck right onto the tape. What else is new? Milan Hajduk came from behind, got his stick down, and then boom, at the last second, Weimer lifted it up. Perfect.
Swinart gets to it. And with a 2-goal differential, Jacques Lemaire just electing not to pull Dwayne Rollison.
Yeah, I'm really not surprised about that. Unfortunate, really, as this game winds down now. 2 seconds to go. Minnesota outplayed Colorado for over half of this game, and they come away without a victory. Colorado still struggling on offense. They were far from picture perfect today, but they scored at the right time. Minnesota needed those points and didn't get them.
14 shots is a season low for Colorado, but they don't count the shots. They just count the ones that go in, and Minnesota had 3, the Wild 1. Tomorrow at 9 Eastern, ESPN2 NHL Ice Picks. It'll be Detroit at Edmonton. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Coming up next, it'll be NHL Tonight. For Brian Engblom and the rest of our crew here at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, I'm Dave Strader. Thanks for joining us. Colorado wins it.